guess Gabe's running.
Are we
so
live?
We've been having a chat
Oh,
already.
live.
Surprise, everyone!
B-roll. B-roll is the best roll.
I'm Molly, the Kush RN, and we're here tonight with Conversations with Kush podcast, and I am just over the moon over the people that are in this room today. So I'm joined by people that have come for the American Holistic Nurses Association conference. They always work closely with ACNA, which is the American Cannabis Nurses Association, in conjunction to bring cannabis and other wellness modalities to change the paradigm of healthcare, right? Mm-hmm. So tonight I'm sitting with Elizabeth and Sherry Mack, Denise and Heather. You guys, please tell me about who you are and what you do in this space.
Okay, well, I'll start out. Holistic Caring and the Green Nurse. So I founded Holistic Caring, back in 2015. And, like many people, I got injured. And so for me, CBD was part of my healing pathway. I crashed my bicycle, went out on leave. I was running sales for Anthem Blue Cross for the County of San Diego, running all the employee benefits for brokers. I was only a nurse in hospitals the first 8 years. I couldn't stand it. So I got an MBA, I got an MBA in healthcare administration and went into insurance companies. And that's how I ended up in sales. But so I went out on leave to have surgery, and my chiropractor's office she said, have a medical massage. So I said, okay, cool. She was using CBD and oil. And I said, what is this? It smells funny. And she said, it's cannabis. I'm like, why are you putting cannabis on me? And she said, it's anti-inflammatory. It's going to heal your pain and reduce your pain and get you back to that pre-surgical arm faster. I've had 3 shoulder surgeries. And then I started taking internal CBD, CBD tinctures, CBD capsules, CBD FECO, and then smoking with THC as well. They got me into a doc's recommendations. And I said, well, what's missing is nursing. And exactly. I said, you know what I want to do is go reignite my medical. I never let my nursing license go. All those years, 20 years in insurance companies, I never let my license go. And now I still never let my insurance license go because I'm going to build that system back in where this needs to be a health plan eventually. So as I started to heal myself, I said I have to help others. And that's the key. Once you find your way away from pharmaceuticals and from the dysfunction of conventional care, you have to help other people find that path. Yeah. And as I started to take more and more cannabinoids, I started to have better diets and better workouts and better meditations and better everything. And so lifestyle. And so for me, I started writing it all down. I opened my own dispensary in San Diego back in the day when you could have a Prop 215 dispensaries before legalization happened there. Came together with a palliative care physician, ended up seeing his patients, needed to train more nurses, wrote my training manual for nurses, which became my book, Cannabis for Health, Become a Coach, which you have.
Yes, I do.
And then that was the impetus to the programs. Mm-hmm. So my Cannabis Nurse Health Coach program is the big program at Holistic Caring. But we have all these mini modules like cannabis and cancer, cannabis and dementia, cannabis and chronic pain, and how do we know of opiates. Right. And so these are the playbook, the instruction manuals for the shops. Yeah. And so that's what I've been doing the past decade until I met her. Yeah. And she loves the voice. I love the pen. So I said, why don't we get together?
Yeah, right?
Merge.
Yes,
our companies.
Yeah. Tell us about you, Sherry.
So I found, cannabis, as a teenager. I explored a little bit in college, but never really embraced it until I found myself on the other side of the bed. So in 2012, I got sick and almost died. I was in the intensive care unit. My gut microbiome was wiped out, and I truly believe now that if clinicians and doctors knew about the endocannabinoid system and taught on it, I wouldn't have suffered as long as I had. Mm-hmm. I was on over 18 pharmaceuticals. I had medical diagnoses this long, literally PTSD from medical and pharmaceutical trauma, over 18 pharmaceuticals, depression, anxiety, panic disorder, agoraphobia, like the list was endless. Chronic myofascial pain disorder, autoimmune conditions. I was just miserable. And I was introduced cannabis as medicine when a 70-year-old nurse came to my house. She came to my house with her harvest from her garden. And so she disclosed to me, and she was one of my clients. So I also do energy work. So I do Reiki. I'm a Reiki master. I do reconnective healing. I work with Healy. And so I haven't been in touch with her, and she knew that I was sick. And I said, I just really don't want to see anyone. I was on 18 pharmaceuticals. I was a single mother of 3 on disability, not able to work, truly sick and suffering. She came to my house with a joint and held it up and said, get with the program. She goes, Sherry, cannabis has been around for tens upon thousands of years. And I want to disclose something to you. I'm 70 years old, and I've been using cannabis since I was 17 every day. And I'm not on any pharmaceuticals, and I've never been hospitalized. And she goes, furthermore, my father was a pharmacist who carried cannabis in his pharmacy prior to 1937 in the Marijuana Tax Act. So I had to look at that, and she goes, you have nothing to lose. And she was right. So I took that puff, and one puff was not enough, for sure. And I took a couple more puffs, and I felt like my head cracked open and consciousness poured in. My pain went from a 10 to a 0, and I was blown away.
Yeah.
Why didn't someone tell me about this? No, really.
That list, I mean, cannabis really does cure everything. No.
And so
it helps with everything.
It truly lit me up in such a way that I got angry. And then I was just like, I have to figure this out. I have to figure this out. So I got my medical card. I was so plagued with stigma and so scared. My mother actually blocked me on Facebook and wrote me out of her will for 2 years. But I knew that this plant worked, and I had to just go about and just do this. So I got my medical card, went shopping at the dispensary, had all of these products, and I said, gosh, if I can figure this out, you can call me the Green Nurse. And here we are.
There you go.
10 years later.
Oh, I love it.
And so, started cannabis. And so basically started learning everything, started working with dispensaries, working with medical card writers as the now what. Started to have a voice in 2018 when the National Council of State Boards of Nursing came out with a call to action that all nurses must have 6 essential areas of knowledge when it comes to cannabis as medicine. That was my impetus to start the podcast, the Green Nurse Podcast, Living Your Best Life. And my whole tagline is, it's truly about living your best life and helping others do the same. And I'm here to change the dialogue and stigma around what it means to feel good and be high.
Yeah, that's
H is for hope. I is for inspiration, G is for growth, and H is for healing. That's the first thing that cannabis brought me, was hope.
We really support that message here, because one of the things that we'd like to do here is just have people tell their stories and really break down the stigma of cannabis, showing that there's incredibly well-functioning professionals out here that are using cannabis on a regular basis, and everything's fine. You know, and what I love about you guys is I love the hustle. I love that you know that nurses have all these tangible skills, and it doesn't just have to be at the bedside.
Right.
And, you know, we can do a variety of things, including educate you on wellness and how cannabis can help you too.
Yes.
So, thank you for what you do. It's incredible, and I appreciate you so much.
Thank you for having us on.
Yeah.
And nurses will be the game changers.
They
I hope
truly
so,
are.
yeah.
They're the game changers, because
In this
nurses
system.
they're problem solvers. They figure things out. There's something wrong, they can
They're
fix
healers,
it.
educators. We're all wounded healers.
Exactly.
And we know how to heal, and we teach from that.
Exactly. That's one of the things I'd really like to broach on this this podcast at some point too, is just how healthcare professionals should be able to use cannabis.
Yes. Right.
You know, because we need it.
We need it.
Yeah, we
I
do.
feel very strongly about that. I have been a registered nurse for 30 years. I spent 23 of those years in emergency medicine.
Yep.
And I've seen a lot in 30 years.
I know you have.
And there are times I don't want to go home and have a whiskey or a bourbon. I'm
Right.
not about the alcohol scene. I
Right.
like how it makes me feel. But cannabis and terra coats my soul.
Yeah. Right.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
Totally. And you don't want to feel bad the next morning. Like, it's just not your thing anymore. You know, I don't know. Like,
Absolutely.
that's how I feel about alcohol.
And I would not go to work impaired with alcohol
Exactly.
or cannabis. So
Exactly.
the fact that some higher authority can tell me that I can't do something in my personal time is just not acceptable to me. And so when I saw it come out in Maine, I'm from Maine, when legislation came out and we got to vote on it, oh my gosh. I cried in my car. Off of exit 48, there's a sign, vote yes on 1. And every day I'd get off exit 48 and cry. I love the young people. The young people are awesome. How is this happening?
Right.
I never thought it would happen in my lifetime. I'm 55. And I wouldn't sleep at night thinking about when I'm put in a nursing home, because my kids will. How am I going to get my cannabis?
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
That kept me up at night.
Yeah.
And so I'm so happy to see that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would really love to see that open up here in Minnesota too. I think they did legalize for school nurses to be able to give the medicine to children. So that was good, but we still got a ways to go.
Yeah, we need more advocacy. But Heather's one of our Cannabis Nurse health coaches, and she got fired up. So she went through our program, and she she started her own business. We're helping her.
I just graduated in the fall.
Yeah.
Okay.
And my son went in the Army, so I took over his room and made it my
Nice.
office. And
Okay.
so now I have my own LLC. This is something I never desired to do. My husband always wanted his own business.
Okay.
I did not. I like to work
Yeah.
for an organization, tell me what to do, I'll do it. But nope, I'm all about this. The CHC program, not only did it teach me everything about the history of cannabis, the purpose and use of cannabis, tested my knowledge, and that's good for me. It's how I learn.
Yeah,
Nurses,
me
our
too.
brains, we work
Yeah.
that way, right?
For
Read it,
sure.
write it, see it, say
Lots
it.
of quizzes.
Yeah.
Yep, the see one, do one, teach one, that's how we
Learning
do.
assignments.
Yeah, for sure.
And so this program also, it's like a business in a box. And so I was able to go to the bank and get my employee identification number and start my own business out of my home.
Nice.
And I never would have seen me doing
Yeah,
this
it's
or being
even
brave
that-
enough to do it. But
even-
I've met these ladies.
Yeah.
And the support.
Yeah, that's awesome. I'd love to hear that because I feel it is very daunting to do those things and like,
Terrifying.
yeah, yeah,
Uh-huh.
for sure. Yeah, that's awesome.
And Denise too.
Yep. Denise,
Yeah, and I
my
was
God, I
too.
met you years ago.
Like years
At
ago.
Denise and I met at I had a meetup for the American Cannabis Nurses Association
Mhm.
at a CBD
Awesome.
wellness store.
Yeah.
And we met up.
Yeah.
Do you do consulting then?
I do.
So, okay.
So I now have my own business.
Okay.
But it started at the time, I'm a nurse as well. I had a meditation studio, really coached in lifestyle medicine, nutrition, and this and that. And then, cannabis became legal.
Right.
And I remember even just to go on the ignorant side and decide when it came up, I think it was 2016, whether or not we were going to be REC as well. And I was just on the fence with it because I had kids, and I was worried. And I was in the community with our meditation studio, working with the no drugs and,
Sure.
using mindfulness
Yeah.
as a means, right? So I was really put in a difficult spot, but secretly I wanted it to pass. It was like, yes, yes, yes. Then once I had a hip replacement and used cannabis for my pain med, I was like, holy crap, we all need to know about this.
Yep.
So I reached out to Sherry. I just Googled, where am I going to find this? And the Green Nurse popped up, and that was in the beginning, just
Nice.
getting started, and it was really
Yeah.
awesome. And I think I really would love being on the side of just changing the narrative of
Me
how we look at the way we heal, the way we age and experience life.
Yeah.
And now we have this tool being able to use the plant on so many of those things that are going to keep us out of the hospital, not having to, rely on everything. So being on that side and letting women know that are struggling with menopause, that go into the doctor, I can't sleep. I'm like brain fog. I have all these things, they're instead of getting antidepressants and,
Yeah.
why there is so much in this plant. So
Helps
that's what
everything.
I really would like to focus on is
Yeah.
educating
Okay, great.
women,
Yes.
like there's so much it's not to be afraid of.
Through all lifespans too. I'd really
Yeah.
love to see laboring women
Yes,
and
so much. I was a labor and
Pre-
delivery nurse.
me
That's
too.
where I started.
Yes, me too.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, so-
It was just like, okay.
But women too, because women are caring for the kids, women are caring for
Right.
the parents, women are caring
Everybody.
for their husband or everybody. The
Everybody.
neighbors,
And the
right?
neighbors, and we're taking care of our parents at home.
Yeah.
And they need it, we need it as the caregivers. So
Yeah.
it's just like, the nurses are the key, the educators, and with all of you. Like we all are
Yeah.
working together,
Yeah.
in this, on this common cause. And it's really exciting to be part of this.
Yeah.
And you have the elevated way. Tell
And
us
we have
about
the elevated way.
The elevated
It's all
way.
part of that, bringing in all these lifestyle medicine tools, whether it's psychedelics, plant medicine,
Here.
meditation, dance, sonomic therapy,
Yeah.
movement.
Motion
Yeah.
is the motion.
We need
People
that.
are-
There's so much with our lifestyle we can do.
Yeah.
That
And I
it's
think
just-
people are
yeah.
getting more invested in feeling well.
Yeah.
I think they're recognizing like, okay, our diets have been horrible. We're all obese and we're all sick, and so they're recognizing like, I really need to make some action steps here if I want to be, well.
Yeah,
So-
the
Well,
thing
and
I noticed the most with COVID, so this is where the Green Nurse and what we were doing together was really big. Like, because
It was
we were
big.
doing
Medical cards.
medical card consultations because they needed to have a medical card to be able to have, which
So
is
during-
crazy. They
So
took
during
away
COVID, they took away recreational cannabis
Recreational.
use during COVID for a short amount of time. And so in other words, we saw an influx of people getting their medical cards.
Sure.
And so of course, you have to follow the rules and regulations. So we were doing medical cards with nurse practitioners and then doing the coaching and consulting. So part of our platform was is you cannot get a medical card unless you meet with a nurse.
Right.
Okay. In your state then? Do
That
you
was
have-
Massachusetts.
Oh,
in
okay.
Massachusetts.
Okay, gotcha.
So it was.
Is it written into the legislation? Do you know? Or is
No,
No.
it's not written into the
No, that was
legislation. That was just my rule.
Her
Okay.
rule of running Green Nurse.
Because when
Okay.
I went to get my medical card, I said to the doctor, "Now what?" And he goes, "Good luck, kid."
Yeah.
Yeah.
There
Me
was
too in
no
California.
information.
Sure.
What? I have
Yeah.
to figure this out on my own. So I was like, well, guess
Yeah.
what? I'm going to be the now what for
Sure.
those patients.
There you go.
You
Yeah,
know,
I
I'm
love
going to
it.
figure this out.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And it opened up so much because what we found was a lot of people who were going to the dispensary for medical, they never had the education or that were using REC without a medical card, had to get their medical, and they've been using cannabis for years.
And so
Never
what-
knew anything about CBD, knew nothing.
Yeah.
And it changed the way they managed their own care. And it was really, an eye-opening experience.
It was.
And they-
And we also found too, so you think that they're just getting their medical card because they just want to get high, and you're asking them, what is it helping you with?
Right.
Well, would you like to optimize it?
Yeah.
Would you like
Yeah.
to make choices
Yeah.
where you're still going to feel good and have fun, but have a health benefit?
Right.
Right.
Right? And that's pretty much the only substance that can do that.
Yeah, and I do believe that at some point, right, when we're talking about rescheduling, right? So
Yeah.
it's going to go Schedule 3, hopefully by the end of August, September, they say. It's got to be before the election, for sure.
Yeah.
But then, here's the thing. Once that happens, then we're building a pharmaceutical pathway. But
Exactly.
then what happens to the dispensaries and
Right.
to the botanical formulations?
Right.
And what I'm a visionary, so for me, it's about building the medical door. And I keep calling it the medical door, and there has to be that path for the botanical. Think about Epidiolex, $3,000 a bottle versus $100 a bottle.
Right.
There's quite a and whole plant versus the isolate
Isolate.
and the single molecule pharmaceutical. And then I think what they were doing with the Green Nurse originally in Boston was key, because we need to pair the education. Think about all these newbies that are going to start flooding the system once it's normalized. And then what now? Yet they have to have that now what? We can't just turn America loose with a dispensary with 38% potency on flower.
Exactly.
We can't do that. We have to guide them.
Yeah.
And that's part of why nurses have to be the game changers, the educators doing one-on-one consultations, small groups in dispensaries like here. Saturday morning, you need to have groups. How to use it for dementia, how to use it for epilepsy, autism, how to use it for chronic pain, how to wean off opiates, and work with your provider and educate them on the conversations to have. That's what we do. And that's why nurses have to lead.
Thank you, Elizabeth. That was incredible. So well said.
Yeah.
So well said. Well, I want to thank you guys for your time again. We're going to
Yeah.
hear from some other
Cool.
people. So thank you so
Great,
much,
thank
though.
you.
I
All right,
appreciate
thank
everything.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Thank you. And I will.
So
I will
awesome. I'm so honored to have you guys here. You guys are, I'm fangirling by like the incredible minds that have come to Rochester. And I'm just so happy to be sitting down with you. So please tell my audience what it is that you do in this space.
Am I going first?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. All right. My name is. Where am I looking?
Nothing, just me.
Okay. Yeah. My name is Megan, and I'm the founder and CEO of Trusted Cannabis Nurse. I started this just over 2 years ago. I was working bedside as a hospice nurse,
Okay.
and I had a patient who I could see who needed something other than the pharmaceuticals that she was on to manage her seizures. I had like read headlines that CBD and cannabis were supposed to work, but I knew nothing about it.
Okay.
But we tried something.
You said just 2 years ago?
Mhm.
Okay.
2.5-ish, and so we had tried something on her, and it ended up working. And I was like, "There's no resource. My hospice isn't. They're telling me I can't talk about this with the patient,
Right,
and she
right.
can't be on it. I'm like, that's not ethical. And there's no resource to help guide that knew like the medical side and the cannabis side to like bridge the gap, especially with seniors, with cannabis. And I remember at that time, or before that, going into a dispensary and being like, what am I looking at? What if I am struggling to know what to get other than like, is it just like the high THC? Is that what I'm supposed to get?
Right.
How in the world is like a 75-year-old woman with arthritis supposed to know what to get?
Yeah.
So that's when I jumped in the deep end and started going to conferences. I started a master's program. I just graduated.
I know.
With a-
Congratulations.
thank you.
Congratulations. Yes.
with a master's degree in medical cannabis therapeutics, and then have been building this business ever since and putting out social media content. I'm known
I
as the
know.
content queen,
Yeah,
just putting
you
out little
are.
snippets of short form content. That's what I really enjoy doing, and it's just getting the word out about this wonderful plant medicine. And then along the way, Ariane and I met, and we've been an amazing team ever since, because she brings to the table something that I don't have.
Yeah. And what is that?
Well, I work with cannabis
Yeah,
as
tell
well,
me
but
more.
yeah, and also work with psychedelics.
Okay.
But as far as like my background goes, I mean, I've been a cannabis consumer for over 20 years.
Yeah.
Even being a nurse, it was like I remember it was one of those things like I would only consume if it was like dro, right? Special, something that had come
Yeah.
around, or if it was a special occasion or something like that. Like I was very specific, but I would still like kind of indulge occasionally.
Sure.
And I used it to help me recover from surgery periodically, or when I had surgery before. And then like what really kind of set me up to like doing what I do now was back in 2020, my dad had decided that he didn't want to use opioids anymore, which is great because my dad has a history of opioid abuse disorder and chronic pain. So I was like, all right, well, let's see what we can do. He got tired of having to clean his body out every time to go do drug screens for, his pain pills that were not helping.
Yeah.
So I was like, all right, I know that this is working for you. So let's
Yeah.
figure out like why. And it was COVID, right? So there was like a virtual conference, and I found CNN through that, the Cannabis Nurses network, and it just like kind of all unfolded. So
Yeah.
my dad came off of opioids like pretty easily,
That's awesome.
and has been sober since, which is huge for my family. So, it's a big deal.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Yeah, so he is my first patient and is like my ongoing case study that I continue to work with. And I started helping people like doing things in 2021. So, and I also work with psychedelics, and I've been doing that probably since mid 2021 as well.
Okay.
And I met Megan in 22. Yeah,
And
at
then
a
it was-
conference, and then we kind of teamed up because she was like, "Well, you come and help me with the cannabis consultations and stuff." And I was like, "Sure, that's awesome." And then she found out about this other side of my business that I was doing, which was the psychedelic side and helping people with microdosing. And she was like, "Oh, you want to bring that on too?" And I was
Yeah.
like, "All right, let's see what we can do with this."
Cool.
And it's been a lot of fun. Like we've reached and helped so many people, and
Right. And it's
been very
I love
rewarding.
that we're able to like use psychedelics in a way to help people who struggle with cannabis use.
Yes, that's
with
another thing that we do.
overconsumption.
Yeah.
Right.
And that was a project we did in the fall. We took 8 people and we're like, hey, can we microdose you and see if we can improve your relationship with cannabis?
Right.
And it worked. It was
Awesome.
really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
that's
it's
really
all
cool.
plant medicine. It's all got to go together.
Right. It is. Yeah.
I'd love to hear. So was your practice like built up so much that you had to bring someone on, and you're doing so many other things too. So
I'm doing a lot.
yeah, you are. I'm like, where does this woman get energy?
Right. Yeah, and I have no background in business. I had started this and I didn't know what I was doing. I still feel like I don't know what I'm doing.
Yeah.
But I recognize what I need to do and what my strengths are, and I
love that.
feel like I'm good at bringing in people, and Ariane is really good at working one-on-one with people, and I feel like that's kind of how our dynamic works, and it works
Okay.
really well.
Cool.
And we are bringing on like another team member. we have a couple team members around the
Okay.
country. So.
Oh, nice. Okay. That's awesome. Tell me about your product line. Like, yeah.
Thank you for asking.
Yeah.
We developed a product line. Like when I started this, again, I recognize that I'm very new to you guys. I recognize that. I would go to a dispensary or I would like look online, and I had a hard time finding like what I wanted and something that was high quality. So then I was like, okay, F it, I'm gonna do it myself. So then I and there was a lot of trial and error, a lot of back and forth of extraction methods and all of this stuff. But I feel like over the last 2 years, we've like kind of narrowed down our line of edibles, tinctures, topicals, and suppositories.
Okay.
So
And if we're helping people dial into those places for wellness, like we should be the ones that are developing the products, right?
Right.
Like it makes sense.
Yeah.
So,
Because
yeah.
it's definitely more than just like evidence-based when we're creating these formulations. Like that's one side of it, but this plant has been used for centuries.
Right. Like
Like
somebody
was shared,
knew what
right?
was
So
up.
there's so much like anecdotal beauty that can be
For
brought into
sure.
the mix too, as we're
Yeah.
like learning all these other things. And that's been part of product development. It's like really listening to what the community wants, right?
Awesome.
And what can serve and support them, instead of us just being like, oh, we think you need this,
Yeah.
which is
Right,
kind of what
right.
happens
Yeah.
in the world.
Nice. And you help people develop their own relationship with the plant.
Right.
That's
Yeah.
what I love. too.
Yeah.
It's like you get to pick what works for you.
Right.
You
Yeah,
know,
we get to
so-
help in it's because it's very much so a co-creative process, right? One of the things that cannabis has taught me is like the more that I understand it, the more that I can understand myself, right? And I think that that's the beauty and the spirit of the plant that's been lost in translation because of prohibition. But there's an opportunity, especially as nurses, for us to reconnect in that way and show people through like conscious use how this can be done so that they too can create that relationship with the plant and themselves. It's a process.
And just having that intention.
Right.
Right. So yeah. I love that, guys. Oh my gosh. We do a lot of, I think this community in Minnesota is really good at reaching out and using cannabis and other wellness modalities and yoga.
So good.
And sound healing,
Yeah.
there's women that do a lot of creative things in the community. So yeah, I think we're doing a good job. Our market's so new. So it's exciting to see, people coming from a big, robust market like where you guys are coming from, and just
Or
like
they're more like raging dumpster fires where we come from. California and Texas, let's be real.
Right.
Well, I mean, from my perspective,
Yeah,
that's what
yeah.
it is.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's good to see like where we can take it, So it's really cool. I just want to pay homage because you guys are like paving the way for us to like forge these paths, and it's really important. So
Yeah.
thank you so much for what you do.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And nurses are really like where it's at in like bringing this medicine mainstream to
Absolutely.
people. And I can't wait for more people to see that and
Yeah.
recognize that
Yeah.
it really is the nurses.
Yeah, we need to elevate our profession. We really do, because we're the people that hold the keys and can also just the key to tap into someone too.
Right.
Like sit down and be like, hey, what do you got going on? Let me grab some resources for you. So yeah.
That's the beauty of the nurse.
Yeah, for sure. Anything else you guys want to talk about? I know you're doing a big thing with the gentleman from the NFL, Gilbert Brown.
Yep. So Gilbert Brown played for the Green Bay Packers in the 90s. He won the 1997 Super Bowl. We met on a podcast last year, and he had never tried cannabis or CBD. He was always
What?
scared of it.
I didn't know that.
Very scared of it.
Okay.
But he agreed because I'm a nurse. He agreed
Okay.
to try it. So we sent him 2 of our products, and then I kind of guided him on using it. After about 10 days of using it, he started to see an increase in mobility, decrease in his swelling, and then a decrease in his brain fog, because he
Wow.
has he has post-concussive symptoms from playing in the
CTE.
NFL.
right.
I don't know if his was as severe as CTE.
It
but
wasn't.
definitely like post-concussive.
So yeah,
syndrome.
any time your head's getting knocked around,
How many
Yeah,
times,
it's
right?
bound to be. Yeah.
Right. And especially in the 90s when there were no concussion protocols like they are now.
Right.
That's true.
So yeah, then we just kind of worked together and formulated Thrive and Thrive XL, and
Okay.
we have a few former NFL players that are now trying it out and
Nice.
purchasing it, which
Great
is really
job.
exciting.
Yeah, that's
So
awesome.
waiting for the NFL to see what we're doing. I know they're doing their own research and stuff, but they'll catch on.
I don't know. I'm not up to speed on it, but I wonder if they dropped the requirement, like the testing for.
So they have they haven't taken it off of their
Okay.
substance list, but they have they play with the levels of allowed amounts at at the beginning of the season versus in the summer or something, the off season.
Okay.
Let's
That's
play
great
with that.
information. Thank you. Appreciate that. I lost it. Did you? What's that?
Oh, poll. What was?
The
women.
Oh, women.
Women?
Talking
What are we
Oh,
talking?
women's have
Jackie, you can
suppositories?
talk. Like, yeah.
Why don't you
Use
come
your
have a
voice.
seat, Jackie? Come
Sit
tell us
down,
what
Jackie.
you do.
Jackie, come on, sit down, please.
No, I just want you guys to talk about women's health because I think there's a lot of really interesting
Oh, yeah, the
initiatives happening with
suppository.
Women's health.
Why don't
And
you
are
come and sit
such a
down?
women's health person, and I have
Okay.
to stay behind here now.
Okay, we won't pressure you. We won't pressure you.
I don't want to.
I'm just saying, okay.
Oh, don't worry.
So
No?
the suppository study.
Yes.
Yeah,
The
please,
suppository
yes.
study. So we, these guys teamed up with the Relief app and the Canigma to do a market research study on our suppositories because women's health is grossly understudied and there's no research on suppositories. Suppositories are considered a medical device because they get inserted. So
I didn't know that.
getting IRB approval for an actual clinical research study is really challenging and expensive. So we're like, okay, we're just gonna do it and then we're just gonna see
Yeah,
what happens.
right.
As we do, right? So we're just now completing that study. The last person is just finishing up. So we're trying to see how whole plant, full spectrum CBD suppositories work for moderate to severe related period pain.
Okay, nice.
Yeah.
Talk a little bit about the dosing with that then, because I'm super curious about that. So,
Yeah.
where do you start them, and how does that progress? And
Yeah, I mean, with suppositories, they're all around 50 milligrams of CBD plus, I think, 1 to 1.5 of THC, and we added some terpenes, beta-caryophyllene, and humulene in there
Okay.
as well, because we know that those help with pain and inflammation.
okay,
And we didn't really give any dosing specifications. We just said use as needed during your period, and then we were going to collect to see what they're doing and what's working,
okay.
as they're doing it.
And will they report when was the onset? How long did it last? The duration, stuff like that. Are you
Yeah.
getting good results back? I'm sure.
I
right?
haven't seen any of the data yet. I am hoping and praying. I've had some people DM me and say that
Yeah.
that's been life changing. We had 100 people complete it, which is a really robust data set. I'm excited about that. We'll find out in the next couple of weeks what the data actually says.
Have you ever tried one?
Yes, of course I have. Of
Well,
course
it
I have.
helped,
Yes,
right?
yes,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Day one of my period
Yeah.
is really bad,
Yeah.
so I like to use them. On day one for me, and then after that, I'm good. I don't have to. Unfortunately, other women need them more and have more severe period pain.
Yeah.
It'll be interesting to see all the different ways that it can help throughout the lifespan too. Like I was saying earlier, in pregnant women and laboring women,
Right.
Women in their 20s and 30s, and even as we get older and go through menopause, how that can really help.
Oh
So
yeah.
I feel like the demographic, my demographic, I'm almost 50. That's one of the largest growing markets. So we need to kind of get tapped into that a little bit more. So
Yeah, I think women are probably the main consumers and people don't realize it when
Well-
it comes to the health market because women are the ones that are making the health decisions for their family.
Yeah.
And kind of ruling some
It's
of the
so much-
paychecks and the paybooks, right?
Yes. And so much marketing is done to men.
exactly. But it's our female plants. So
Right. It's our plant.
we're taking it back.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we're excited about that study and see and even I'm detaching myself from the outcome. We've invested a lot, but even if the product shows that the results aren't significant, that's okay because this data set does not exist in research.
Exactly.
So then we know that this dosing in this form does not work for this thing, and that's I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
It sucks, but if that was the case.
I love your mix of science and hustle. It's perfect. Yeah, it's so admirable. You're always wanting to have that that research and that evidence, and you're really pushing for that. And it's so important, right? How else are we going to get things done and move things through insurance and get it paid for and get it legal everywhere, and normalized and they talked earlier about when they were going to reschedule it to 3, but I'm they need to deschedule it,
Right.
free the
100%.
plant.
Yep.
Right,
Yeah.
right, because
The
rescheduling that
The
just
plant.
And
Good plan.
and I think Elizabeth said, that leads us down a pharmaceutical path now, so
Right.
100%. That's why
Yeah.
it was done that way.
But it's important to have education and to be able to use the plant, in a way that's going to make you well. So here we are. Yeah. So yeah, it's nice to have someone that understands the whole process from science to soul.
Right.
So
Yeah.
yeah.
Awesome.
So yeah. So anything else you guys want to talk about? You want to talk more about psilocybins? Because I love me some psilocybins.
We have a group that's coming up. Like, we did the group in October that was mainly focused on people who identified with problematic cannabis use. Like, it's these people identified that they had issues. It's very clear that we didn't say
Self-identified.
right, self-identified issues, right? And it was really beautiful what the people experienced in that. And I've been working with psilocybin for about 3 years, and I've done several groups over the years. And groups are kind of hard to fill, but they're a lot of fun, right? So we've got another one that's coming up in June, or this weekend.
Sunday.
On Sunday we start that one.
Okay.
And then we are planning on doing one specifically for nurses
Oh my
and
gosh.
coming in July.
Whew, sign me up for that one.
Yeah, because a lot of nurses are really concerned, like, do want to use cannabis, right?
Mhm.
But then there's like the drug screen issue that
Yeah.
everybody has a concern with, and working with psilocybin, that's not really an issue,
Exactly.
right? For multiple reasons, but yeah, and it can help people have that, like, what I've been told and what I've experienced is like that pause, like that sacred pause, so that they can come back down to center and just make an informed choice that is going to support themselves, right, in a way. And when we're bedside nurses, or people who are bedside nurses, I don't do that anymore. God bless all the people who still do. It's hard to create that space to even breathe.
Yeah.
Right,
Well-
and most people have.
You're completely tasked down.
Right.
You're dictated by an algorithm. You have a flow sheet. Like, everything is so task oriented.
Right.
Now. Sadly.
It is. And, like, if we can give ourselves space to breathe, right? Just to simply breathe. Like, I had a nurse tell me the other day, she's like, I walked away. I had, we had a lot of admissions coming in. We didn't have enough staff, and there was high acuity, and I was really concerned. She said, and I took a time and I just stepped away. And she was like, they were probably wondering, where is she going? And she said, but I stepped off and I did some affirmations and I did some breathing. She said, I went back out and I did what I needed to do, and it was a good shift, and I was okay with how I performed and was able to leave my job at work and go home in peace. And when she got home, she didn't stress eat. She didn't down alcohol, because she was able to be at peace with the work that she delivered,
Sure.
because she gave herself space to be able to collect herself to show up, right?
Yeah.
And what I found so interesting is this person's been a nurse for 30 years. And she said, I'm sure my team was wondering why I stepped away. I need everybody to sit and understand that.
I would have wondered that, though. I would have looked around and been like, I hope she's okay.
But why is it that we are questioning why we can't step away? Why anybody would even want to know why? Like,
Yeah.
that should be, hey, we have a lot coming on. Like, why don't you go step away and get yourself together for a minute? Or can we do this together? Can we give ourselves this sacred pause?
Wow. It's really like, it's a vulnerable place. I guess I know I don't have that effect when I use psilocybins, but maybe I'm not doing it right. I don't know.
Well, she doesn't, this person doesn't microdose when she works.
Yeah, no.
So
I
this
never
was
would,
his
yeah.
effect of being able to microdose over
Days
time,
later.
right?
Mhm.
And this is what is like the nervous system regulation, and this is where we can have like more mindfulness and consciousness of what's going on, so that we can give ourselves space to breathe instead of being overwhelmed, especially when we're in the trenches and we've got all these things going, right? And we're dissociated. But if we can just give ourselves time to breathe, right? And
Nice.
and that's part of her process, and part of her growth was understanding that through microdosing, nervous system regulation and stuff. And it's been a process, right? But that's what's been really cool about working with some of the nurses. And we work with teachers too. who are taking some of these breathing techniques. Like when we work with people in microdosing, it's microdosing and mindfulness. So there's mindfulness-based practices that we're teaching, lifestyle medicine, stuff to support the ECS, right? Like
Exactly.
along with this. And they're taking some of these practices and they're teaching it to their families, to their kids, to their students.
Trickle down.
And it's like the ripple effect, right? That's really beautiful. And nobody is altered. Nobody's tripping. Like, if anything, they just are like, oh, I wasn't as mad today.
Yeah.
Like, or I felt calmer, or I didn't freak out on my kid because I was so stressed out of all the rest of the stuff. I was able to sit down and have a tea party. I had a nurse tell me that.
Oh, that's sweet.
Y'all, like,
Yeah.
and these nurses that are scared, they can't use cannabis, right? Because of THC and the drug screens, but they can use psilocybin.
Yeah. I'd like to see that for all helping professionals, actually. Like firefighters, police. I mean, y'all got
I
some
have some
pretty
paramedics we work with.
intense jobs. Yeah,
I got some
exactly.
paramedics we work with.
I've heard a lot of buzz about like healthcare PTSD, you know, and how psilocybins and cannabis can help with that. And it's like, oh, finally someone's like listening to us, you know.
Yeah.
You know, we've been through some tough years. So
And we're doing it ourselves, right?
yeah,
It's
exactly.
like
Who takes care of
nobody's-
us, right?
Right.
Yeah. So
We take care of each other.
yeah, we do. We do. That's awesome. So will you set up a program for people then and like, you know, do like a 1 day and then 3 days later or like and take them with journaling and like do intention and stuff like that. I think that sounds
it's
fun.
kind of, so I don't tell anybody necessarily what to do. I give, like, what I tell people is like, we're imagine that we're going on a grand adventure.
Okay.
And I am your Sherpa and I know the lay of this land.
I want to be in this
However,
class.
I don't know all the paths that you want to take, but I
Okay.
can tell you what paths are available. And if you decide you want to trail off and do something completely fucking different, have your way, right?
Yeah.
But just know that I'm here to support you along the way. So I give people, you know, generalized guidelines, and also it's very much so like, what works for you? What has
Exactly.
worked for you in the past? What inspires you? Like, that's a part of the intention because it's co-creative. And
That sounds like developing a relationship with plant medicine.
it is.
Yeah.
That's what we
Yeah.
do. That's literally what we do.
That's awesome. Yeah. Well, big ups to that. So, ladies, unless there's anything else you want to impart to my audience.
good.
Okay.
Thank
Thank
you
you
so
so
much.
much.
Can you introduce them?
Okay.
Just in the very beginning. So yeah, we can clap for them.
Thank you guys. You guys are awesome. Thank you so much. So I am sitting down with Kayla St. Martin. Please tell me what it is that you do in this space.
I am a holistic cannabis nurse
Okay.
and a holistic nurse coach, and my practice is Canada-wide right now. So I'm CEO of the Cannabis Nurses and Co.
Wow. So you have Canada locked down pretty much.
Trying to.
As you should. Yeah, I love this. So tell me how you help patients access their medication.
So we meet the client wherever they're at, and we, in Canada, because of federal legalization, we have a completely accessible recreational stream and a medical stream.
Oh, great.
So in our consultations, we provide education about both streams, and then from there, let the client make an informed choice. Where do you want to get your product? Do you want to run down the street today and grab it from a recreational store? Or do you want to move through our Canadian Medical Cannabis program, find a licensed producer and order online? And then we guide them in helping them find the best quality products for their needs.
Okay. In Canada, in order to access the medical program, then do you have to have like a certain set of diagnoses, or can anyone just ask for one and get one essentially, or?
Somewhat.
Okay.
Yeah, you have to use the right avenues. Not all family doctors, like there's a special education that they have to do to be able to prescribe medical cannabis.
Okay.
And many don't do it. So often our clients are, just Googling like medical cannabis clinic online. And then through those avenues, it's really, really easy to access your medical cannabis prescription for, you could say your toe hurts and you could get your medical card. Yeah.
Are there limits in the medical program? Is that why people would opt for one or the other?
So that's where we've kind of messed up in Canada with federal legalization, is that most of our clients opt for the recreational market because we have similar products between both. Recreational almost always seems to be cheaper right now.
Okay. I wonder how our market will roll out too, if it will be similar, where people will want to access the adult rec market versus, getting their I feel like it will.
Oh, probably.
Yeah.
There's, especially in Canada, it's only online. You can only order from your licensed producer online. Your cost is more expensive. You're waiting on shipping.
Right.
And so even as a cannabis nurse, I hold my medical card, but I tend to gravitate towards the recreational market myself even.
Okay. Do you have, like, similar to Ariane and Megan, do you have like a whole product line developed already then?
No, we don't have any product line development. It's really hard to get into, like, through Health Canada to get your, like, grower's license and your distribution licenses. It's a whole rigmarole in Canada. Like, our licensed producers and those that are making great medicine, they really, like, work really, really hard to stay in the industry and overcome, like, our high tax rates and our excise tax. And, so we, instead of, like, having our own line, we try to build relationships with our producers. And so that we know when we're talking about a product that it's actually made to be medicine. And those are the ones we're sharing with our clients.
You know where it's sourced from and what's in it, and
maybe even the intention behind why their product came to market. Like that kind of stuff too, to, like, connect our local producers to our local clients
and
as
support
well.
the market. Yeah,
and support those smaller growers.
For sure, I love that. So it's more craft then.
Sometimes, and really too, we're just, like, providing them with that education and knowledge of, like, what's a quality product and what's not. So really bringing home that idea of full spectrum medicine, which brand lines carry full spectrum medicine and show that they do. And so we'll, like, teach them how to look for those identifiers when they're searching through product menus.
How long would you typically work with a client then?
Typically at least 3 months for the most part. Yeah, to really see, like, that full progression as they're, like, especially as they're non-intoxicating cannabinoids really start to work.
Yeah.
And in that, because we're doing the holistic nurse coaching as well, we're moving beyond just the cannabinoids. We're moving into care of the ECS.
Nice.
So once you gain some stability with mood, pain, and sleep, then outside of that, how are we moving to curate lifestyles that support this endocannabinoid system outside of cannabis?
I love it. Are you tapped in with any of your local people to provide some of those services, like more wellness services like yoga and
we run in partnership. We'll do educational events.
Nice.
But we'll do, like, ECS nourishment events. So we'll run it at a yoga studio and we'll infuse yoga and breath work. Plus we'll learn about the endocannabinoid system and why you feel so good, and then introduce the idea of cannabis as well.
What are the majority of your patients coming to you for?
So majority of my patients that come to us are usually with PTSD. So we receive referrals directly from Veterans Affairs.
Okay, that's awesome.
And we're working directly with our veteran population in Canada. And they've seen such beautiful outcomes from it that we're starting to have, they've requested we have nurses coast to coast in Canada to provide this service.
I love that. That's awesome. What a great way to support the community and to give back to the people that, gave to us.
Exactly.
I hope that there's a woman that we work with, Alicia Shaw, that's really connected with the veterans program here. Her and the gentleman that I had on my podcast, Matt, that is a veteran that used cannabis for PTSD, and Alicia helped him get to a place where he was feeling really good. And it's a beautiful relationship, and now they're going forward and kind of spreading that message. And hopefully we can move the needle here in Minnesota and nationwide too, and get federally legal cannabis so their veterans will have that to access.
I know. It's been such a beautiful medicine to watch that population, like this vulnerable population, where you just come in with an open mind and an open heart and hold space for them. And, like, cannabis is, like, one of our modalities, but it's such a small piece of what we're actually doing within that population.
But I think for them it works so well.
It does.
Like, it's the thing.
And it's like, we always talk about it like the catalyst, right? Like, to bring stability and some sort of stability to pain, mood, and sleep. And then from there, they're like, oh yeah, I can figure out how to navigate this healthcare system with some guidance, or I can advocate for myself better, or I'm functioning better within my family. So we're riding our bikes together, and, like, we're moving them in, like, Maslow's to the top of that hierarchy.
I love it.
But it starts with cannabis, because you meet somebody and you're like, I'm going to simplify this, and we're going to focus on a lot of stuff later, but right now let's talk about your pain, mood, and sleep.
Yeah.
And I'm going to kind of hold your hand through this process, and we're going to find out what regime works best for you.
Yeah.
But from there, I'm going to start we're gonna work towards other things. Like this is just our starting point.
Right. So you're creating that wellness and that pain, mood and sleep, like you talked about. Like typically those I feel like are just byproducts of like those bigger things that we have going on, whether it be autoimmune diseases or cardiac issues or mental health issues too. So yeah, thank you for the work that you're doing. It's incredible.
Thank you.
Is there anything else that you'd like to say about it?
I just feel really blessed to be here.
Yeah.
And to be like a steward of the plant and trying to always keep that into our like values and as we sort of move forward with this idea of holistic nursing and bringing more nurses into the practice.
Where else do you see it going?
Well, I see us having like nurses coast to coast doing the work.
Yeah.
And then from there, who the heck knows, right?
Yeah.
Because we're going to have so much good data and like seeing sort of like structures and opinions change within a federal structure is really exciting to see. So I don't know. This is like momentum that's going. I can't stop it.
Yeah.
I don't know where
Do
it's
they
going.
have nurses that work in dispensaries in Canada that people can come in? Okay, so
Oh no, you
You're
don't talk
really the
nothing
only-
medical.
okay.
Yeah.
So okay,
Yeah. And yeah, we're adding nurses to the practice through
that's
the
awesome.
through the kind I wrote an accredited holistic cannabis nursing program.
Awesome.
So sort of our first accredited program in Canada. And yeah, just like looking for those right
Congratulations.
people.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Thank you.
That's beautiful work. I appreciate it so much.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah, you're really bringing and opening it up to the community, and I love that. Especially, we need to promote each other. Like these guys were saying, we can take care of each other. So
Absolutely.
Yeah, I love
and it's
it.
like just like one ripple at a time, head down. Like watching one individual change and transform and then watching those like ripples start to move out.
for sure.
So we're really focused on like really good quality one-on-one care right now and just watch the ripples get wider and go where they take us pretty much.
Well, and that's what nursing is about too.
Yeah.
Like sitting down and like connecting with a person and making sure that you're really guiding them on their journey. So
When they come to us and they're like, how are you doing this? And I'm like, do you guys forget what nurses are and who they are and the
Right.
capabilities that they have?
right.
I'm like, this plant is a powerful modality, but when you pair nursing with it, the possibilities are endless.
Endless.
And right now, here in what we've seen in Canada with like our medical cannabis program and our legalization is they're still missing nursing.
Mm-hmm.
And that's, I think, why we're not seeing it, maybe as many positive outcomes as we want yet. But now we're
Okay.
hoping to infuse that sort of nursing lens into it and blow things out of the water.
I'm glad to hear you say that because I feel like that's exactly what it's missing in Minnesota too. And so here we are to forge that path. So yeah, thank you. Thank you for coming before us and showing us the way. I appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Yeah, thank you, Kayla. I'm so honored to be sitting down with these ladies today. We have Trisha Brown, Judy Ratliff, and Jacqueline Higgins, all cannabis nurses here in the state of Minnesota, and 3 women that I am honored to be working with in collaboration and be called a cannabis nurse, even though you guys have like way bigger academic acumen than me. But yeah.
Thank you.
Do you guys want to talk about what you do, or Jackie?
All right. Do you want to just my business? Or?
Yeah, tell me
Okay.
about who you are, what you do in your
Alright.
space, what you hope to
Yes.
achieve.
Okay. My name is Trisha Brown,
Mhm.
and I started a company, Centris Health and Wellness,
Okay.
last fall after being certified in cannabis. I've been a bedside nurse for 30 years and healthcare for 34. Come from a family and a line of nurses. And I've worked in long-term care, short-term rehab, cardiac telemetry, and for the last 3 years, I've been working in substance abuse, adult mental health, and it's been really eye-opening putting all the pieces together.
Okay.
The whole mind, body, spirit connection.
Yeah.
So I am working with anybody who wants to use cannabis as a medicine.
Okay.
But for me, it's more of a lifestyle approach first, and cannabis is, for me, that nudge to help people get well and heal. And when I was seeing at the bedside, there was definitely not enough of healing,
For
just treatment, and I want to do more for clients. And
Yeah.
so a one-on-one holistic approach.
It's nice to just get back to nursing. Right?
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
The passion to
Yeah.
care for somebody and actually make a
Yeah.
difference. Yeah.
And then I always wanted to, this is really, I'm going to tell you a fun fact about me. I always want to win a Daisy Award. Like that's my goal in life because those come from the patients, you know? So then I know I really touched a patient, you know? So I don't care about any of that other crap. I want to win a Daisy Award.
I haven't gotten a Daisy Award either, Molly.
So maybe it'll still happen. I don't know. How about you?
I'm Judy, and I actually just completed the Cannabis Masters program.
Congratulations.
Yes,
so girl.
My real job is I'm faculty, I'm an instructor for the Integrative Nurse Coach Academy, but my goal with cannabis is to actually bring it into senior living facilities and end of life.
I love that.
So for individuals that are end of life and want to use cannabis, let's allow that.
Yeah, so compassionate, right? Yeah, awesome. Okay, Jackie.
So, so my profession is I am a nurse practitioner, and I have in a previous position qualified patients for the Medical Cannabis program, and was very apprehensive getting involved with it. I think as a clinician, there's just a different piece that goes into that, and so I never wanted to harm anybody. I didn't have any training in it, and when cannabis was legalized in the state of Minnesota in 2014, I really had a very new kind of a experience. But I was surrounded by some amazing people, and they were qualifying patients, and so I was able to have space. Interestingly enough, we talked about space earlier.
Yeah.
I was able to have space to learn and to partner with patients and listen to what they had to say and figure out what they were doing. And people would bring me books, and people would just bring me products and show me what they were doing. And I also pursued education, which interestingly enough was shockingly complicated at that point in time. I did eventually make my way to Pacific College and obtained a certificate in medical cannabis, and then when they had the master's pilot program, I also completed the master's in cannabis.
Congratulations.
Interestingly enough, along this journey as a clinician and as a professional from that perspective, I realized that maybe I wasn't the only person who was worried about cannabis as medicine, and perhaps other professionals would need that support.
Yep.
And so as I have entered this space, one of my goals really has been to support professionals. And the way that I'm doing that at this point is people have put me forward as, contact Jacqueline Higgins and she'll do a lecture for you, and I've had the opportunity to connect with psychiatric nurse practitioners. I was able to connect with the Minnesota Holistic Medical Group and the Minnesota Holistic Nurses Association at a recent event. I have an event coming up in Tennessee with Judy,
Nice.
where we're going to connect with aromatherapists.
Awesome.
And there's a huge group of nurses who do aromatherapy, so that's, I figured we're going to tap into that. And then I have something coming up with critical care nursing. So
My gosh.
with each group, I'm really just trying to make sure that they have the foundations and the
Yes.
fundamentals. Because I think when we start talking about the endocannabinoid system and we really start bringing the pieces that feel very out there for professionals, kind of just root.
Yeah.
What is the root?
Yep.
I think that that's going to help people start to see the science differently, and then with that science gives permission in some settings to work with this medical approach.
Yeah.
So I think that's kind of where I'm headed, although love patient care, but at this point I feel like the place I need to practice compassion is with colleagues.
For
with
sure.
people.
Absolutely. I mean, if you can't change their minds first, if they're going to be, mired down in the stigma of cannabis and you can't open them up, and usually we know we're going to do that through a science pathway, right? They're going to be well, show me the evidence. And so here now we have all this research, or we're working on it. But I think once you can turn the providers, then they'll be of course we're going to prescribe cannabis for you. And hey, there's this nurse over here that knows a lot about it. So go talk to her.
Yeah.
you know, that's hopefully where I hope it goes, Jackie. Like,
Well, I think there's, you know, we think about, I don't know who said this to me, but I can't take full credit for it. But somebody had framed it in the direction of, you know, we have diabetic nurse educators. So it just seems like we could
Exactly.
have these nurse educators.
Right.
Is it you who said it?
well,
And I think that was a beautiful way to frame it. And
Yeah.
So there's.
and
there's
now
that.
as we work on accreditation and we'll be able to get certified too, I mean, that just all,
I think the ANA definitely has pushed forward the profession in a meaningful way as it relates to this space. And I think that's important for nurses to be aware of because I don't think all professions have the same level of support that nursing has. And that is, I think that's really crucial. And I think we have many partnerships, you know, within this space to be mindful of and considering of. You know, so nursing is one. I mean, you know, certainly the shops and asking them to carry some lower dose products for our 90 patients. I think that's a space also.
what I see though is like if they're going to offer medical products, they'll have to have a consultant that, you know, does that education for patients when they come in. That's kind of how I see it.
Yeah.
I don't know
think
if
the
you've thought
question
about
is,
that.
What's the education going to be required of the consultant?
And I think we are going to need to piece that out. Yes, we are. So they have all this great new legislation now and everything's just going to go through rulemaking. So, yeah. But it's important. If you're giving information about medical products, I mean, you know.
I think understanding language is going to be crucial for many people. Like definitions are going to have meaning, at least I think in the medical space. And so that's another place where I think having that level of insight will be supportive for everybody.
And just even more applicable things like making sure that there's no drug interactions and things of that nature. I mean, just at the core of things, you know. So, yeah, great. Where do you guys want to see our market going and ending up? And what are you excited for? And what's exciting about being a cannabis nurse in Minnesota right now?
Well, for one, people have the agency to make their own healthcare decisions. And as a nurse coach, that's where I step into, is to help people make informed decisions, educate on the endocannabinoid system, but how to support that without cannabis as well. Cannabis is a great nudge, and I think it can really help people turn their health around and get in more of a healing mode. So yeah, that's really encouraging for me. I'm excited to work with people.
Nice. Yeah, and I feel like nurses are such a great bridge to that, right?
Absolutely, and the
Yeah.
most trusted profession for how many years? 23,
Ever.
right? So I wouldn't be doing this if I didn't feel strongly about it myself.
Yeah.
I'm a seasoned nurse, so
Yeah.
it's kind of risky to lose my
It
livelihood.
It
Yeah,
is. It
so-
is risk. It's
Yeah.
it's uncomfortable to talk about being a cannabis nurse in Minnesota, and I love hearing the stories of other people where they're like, yeah, so what? You know, it's like that's what I want to hear one day too.
Right.
You know, and then to hear them talking about how they want to heal healthcare workers, like it's incredible.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Healthcare workers, police officers, teachers. We've had it rough since COVID.
Yeah,
Kind of a little bit more in the spotlight and
for sure.
judged. Yeah.
Yeah, Judy, where would you like to see things go? What are you excited for?
I think what's exciting is the curiosity that we're seeing at this conference. The
Yeah.
AHNA and
Really? Okay,
ACNA
I'm glad to hear
conferences.
that.
The curiosity and just that cannabis track that everybody seems to be drawn to and coming out with their minds blown really
Yeah.
about what is an endocannabinoid system,
I
the
know.
fact that we have one. But like Jackie said, I would love to see lower dose products in the dispensaries for
Me
people
too.
who haven't used cannabis or are older adults or
Yeah.
whatever it is.
So even if they're not going to source from the medical program, they should have that I call it medical dosing. That's what I call it. You know, where it's lower dose and they can titrate up and, you know, do all the things so they can dial into their terpenes if the products are available for that or whatever they need. I think one of the things I've spoken about is the education needs to be at such a low level. So like I appreciate what you're doing, but like on the opposite spectrum, we need to get down there. Like, nobody's heard of an endocannabinoid system, you know, and so, and it's very complex. So there's a lot to dig into, right? There's a lot to know about cannabis. And again, that's why it's important, like we talked about earlier, making sure that whoever is providing that education is like licensed professional and, you know, so yeah. I'm just gonna.
It has a high
sure
safety
I'm gonna
profile, but without proper guidance and education, people can get into trouble.
True, and it's not for everybody.
No, it's not.
Yeah.
It'd be
Okay.
nice to avoid it'd be nice to avoid the trouble. Like,
Agreed.
it'd be nice to avoid
Yeah,
the trouble. I think
agreed.
our healthcare system has been very taxed for several years at this point,
Mhm.
and avoiding the trouble would be a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
And the thing I love about Minnesota is these are very bright people. I mean, like, in all sincerity. So I feel like we have this, our consumers could definitely, I don't think our consumers want to, you know, end up in an emergency department either. You know,
Yeah.
So I do think there's that. I'm just going to share. I am excited because it seems like when I have requested to be invited in, the professionals are inviting me in. And
That's awesome.
I'm really excited to see that there is an interest. I don't think people realize professionals really do want to do good care. They don't want to harm people, and you know that there's opportunities for them as well. But we have crammed so much information down their throats for years now. People are fatigued.
Well, and hopefully
We
they're
want to give them a little space to learn.
and hopefully they're invested in the outcomes of their patients, right? I mean, let's keep it at the heart. You know, I
Yeah.
mean, it's cannabis, so
Yeah. So it's an opportunity to learn.
yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, for sure. Any last thoughts, girls?
Yes, thoughts. Cannabis nurses are going to help shift the healthcare paradigm.
There you
I'm
go.
pretty confident about that.
Yeah,
We're
nice.
doing great things, and yeah, it's important that people get educated on their endocannabinoid system. And I wanted to add that as a future outcome for me is educating parents and families on the endocannabinoid system is just crucial to our health as a nation. So I think we need to start an early childhood family education, and I'm going to work on that.
Okay, I love it. I love
That
it.
might be a little further out, but
I love
it's
all the
definitely
work.
cool.
I love all the work that each of you are doing and how you're contributing to our community. It's really important. I think we all have our piece, and we can all play our role, and we can work with each other right here, like they just talked about earlier about how we're going to help each other, and it's like we are, you know. It would be nice if we were all on the same page about everything, but I think sometimes we're a little off. But this is why it's incredible, because we need to have those voices, and you know. There's things that maybe I've thought about that somebody else hasn't thought about, or vice versa, or, you know. So it's nice forging a relationship with you guys and being a part of the team.
Yeah,
So,
we appreciate you, Molly.
Yeah.
Thank you for doing this.
Just a big mouth. I don't know.
Work on it.
Oh yeah. So anyway, thanks you guys.
Appreciate
Thank you
it.
for,
Thank
and also
you.
thank you for supporting me, because I feel like I always really get really good accolades from you guys, and I see you sharing my stuff and talking about it and just telling me like you're doing so good, and so thank you so much just for like being my people. And,
I'm like a huge cheerleader. of
yeah.
all of everybody in the business.
Yeah.
I love it what we're doing. So
Me too.
Yeah.
Me too. Yeah. So I appreciate you guys.
Thanks.
Yeah.
MBC. No relation to NBC.